What's going on, everybody? Gaming Diva is here, and whew, if it isn't one thing, it's another. Especially now that I done got my momentum back, and I have been learning Unity for the past couple of months, but now this has happened. So I know this is kind of late news, and I'm just now dropping it on my channel, even though I have been following it a bit. So basically, Unity has done a thing which it can potentially really impact smaller game developers, smaller teams, and solo game developers such as myself with this new pricing update. Uh, and there's been a lot of prominent members within the game dev community, bigger, more prominent voices that have a bigger voice and bigger influence than I at the moment, that have came out collectively and spoke on our behalf. Some of which that I've seen is kind of mixed because, there's a bunch of studios that are way far off into their development of their game, or almost, you know, completed their game to the point of their game actually has, their studio actually has money to be okay to a certain extent with those prices, or at least until they finish up their current project and then find a different search engine. So we have some that are staying with Unity. We have some studios that are choosing to go a different direction after they finish their gaming projects, and it's just like, yeah. So offline, I have seen where, now it could be arguably stated that Unity's pricing, regardless, is still severely cheaper than Unreal. But at the same token, I can see why everybody is very, very upset. And this even threw me for a loop because I'm just like, the biggest thing really is, okay, so how is Unity as a company is going to be able to track, installs? And what does that really mean, installs? Does that mean I'm creating a new project and the installs is counting as the number of, you know, what I add to make my game compatible with the different hardware systems that are out there? Does that count as an install? Is it us making the demos and prototypes? Well, it's really confusing language. And without really knowing what their checks and balances system is going to be, that is very scary. And I've seen some things on Twitter where one developer is like, sheesh, based upon this, that small indie game developer, or his company, will end up owing Unity like over $5 million. So it is very scary, and also very scummy, in my opinion, the wording that Unity is using. So for me, I kind of understand a little bit, but at the same token, I don't, because of how they worded it on their company website. So today I'm going to be reacting to codemonkey's video, and all credits go to codemonkey. Make sure you subscribe to the codemonkey channel if you want to watch the full video. Full credits will be down in the description below. So for me, my issue is, or where I am stuck at, do I stick with Unity because that's the game engine that I'm learning? Do I just say, forget Unity, and do I just go ahead and learn Unreal or Godot or Game Maker? There's a bunch of other game engines out there, and it's very crazy for me because it's like, I have courses that I personally bought for Unity, which one of being, Thomas Brush's full-time game dev course. I bought a couple of extra courses on Udemy. So it's just like, wow. If it ain't one thing, it's another. But without further ado, y'all let me know in the comment section down below your thoughts on Unity's price changes, how this is going to affect you, if any, as a solo game dev, as a small studio, or, all thoughts are welcome. This is to open up a discussion, a chat. Make sure y'all civil in the comment section down below as to we're trying to figure out various solutions to problems without being over the top. But anywho, if you're not subscribed to this channel and you want to see my playlist on my game development journey, it's under the appropriate playlist called Game Development. You are here for. I appreciate every single one of you. Make sure you comment down below, subscribe if you're new, and leave a like. That's what's going to help me grow. Road to 1K. Help me get 1K subscribers, guys. So without further ado, let's check out what codemonkey has to say in this video. Maybe he'll be able to better break down Unity's new pricing, and hopefully I won't be affected. I don't know. We'll see. Let's see what's going on here.
Hello and welcome. I'm your codemonkey. So here's some Unity news. There's a pricing change. It's a bit complex, so there's already a ton of confusion and unanswered questions. I'm going to try my best to answer them based on how I understand things. Basically, the TLDR is if you are an indie dev like me making PC or console games, then probably nothing is really changing. In mobile, the math might be different. I'm not familiar with the mobile world, so I really cannot comment on how this change affects mobile. But for PC and console devs, this likely means no difference. So here's the full announcement blog post. Basically, starting from next year, Unity will introduce a new Unity runtime fee that is based on game installs. Here it mentions the Unity runtime several times. Basically, the Unity runtime is what actually runs the Unity game. So you have the Unity editor, that is where you actually make your game, then you make a build. When you run that build executable, that is the Unity runtime. Basically, this new fee will apply when above the thresholds for both revenue and installs. Now this and over here, this one is very important. This is one of the main points of confusion. So the fee only applies if above the revenue in the last 12 months and above the lifetime game installs. Now, one good news from all this is that there is no longer a limit on revenue or funding for using the free version. So Unity Personal will now be available for anyone regardless of how much revenue they make. This is a really good thing because it means that if your game makes, for example, $1 million, you can still now stay within the free version. Whereas previously, you could only use the free version up to a revenue or funding of 100K. If you made more than that, then you would need to get Unity Plus. And if you made more than 200K, you would need to get Pro. So then down here is a chart for what the fee actually is and how it applies. Basically, you have the 3 tiers. So you've got Unity Personals, that's the free version, Unity Pro, and then Enterprise. Then you've got the revenue thresholds. These are all based on the last 12 months. Then you've got the installs threshold. So this is number of installs per lifetime. Then if the installs are above this amount and it's above this revenue on the last 12 months, if so, then this is the rate that is applied. So for the free version, when going above 200K installs, after that, it's 20 cents per install. Then Unity Pro, you've got 15 cents and it gets cheaper as you get more and more installs. I believe the stats are that 90% of games on Steam never make more than 5K. So this fee will not apply to something like 99.9% of Steam games. For example, I'm working on my own upcoming Steam game with Ink Guardians. I really hope that the game will find success, but to me success means just selling 1,000 copies. Even if in my wildest dreams the game would be a huge hit and sell 10,000 copies, that is still 190,000 under this current limit. Although in my case I actually have Unity Pro, so in my case that would actually be 990,000 under the new limit. So my general takeaway is if you are an indie dev on the same scale as me, then it's very unlikely you will ever hit anywhere close to these thresholds. Again, keep in mind I'm talking about in the context of premium PC content.
Okay.
For mobile, the math is very different.
So
now, right away, there's a ton of confusion on all of this.
Yeah.
The fact that the fee is per install means there are a ton of possible weird edge cases, which are not really explained anywhere. There's an official FAQ with a bunch of questions, but there are still so many unanswered questions. The official forum thread already has hundreds of posts and lots of questions. So here, let me try to clarify some things. Although, do keep in mind that I do not work for Unity. I'm just a normal developer that uses Unity, just like you. So what I'm going to say here is based on reading the blog post very carefully. I do not have any extra secret knowledge. Now, the main thing that people are confusing is the and. It is actually highlighted up here in the text. It says that only games that meet the following thresholds qualify for the fee. So those that have above the revenue and above the lifetime installs. It is confusing because down here in the chart, it is not clear that it is and on both of these conditions.
Exactly.
So some people think that this fee applies
That's
if you
what
go
makes it
above the
confusing.
revenue or above the install threshold.
Right.
That is not correct. This one is an and. Meaning, for example, if you're using Unity Personal, then this fee will only apply if your game has 200k in lifetime installs,
which it
and
doesn't.
over 200k in revenue over the past 12 months. A lot of the confusion in the
Okay.
forums is people asking,
So
what if I have an old
I'm
game,
okay
how
for
many
now.
installs do I have to pay? And the answer is, you
I'm
only have to
okay
pay
for
if that
now.
old game has
But
made over 200k in revenue in the past 12 months.
I think I'm
If the game was
probably,
super successful in the
after
past,
I
but now
learn
in the
Unity,
present,
because of,
if the game goes under that revenue threshold, then you don't have to pay any fee regardless of how many installs. Another point of confusion is people asking.
So real quick, I think, so the way he breaks that down and explains it, granted, like he said, he does not work for Unity. But based on how codemonkey is saying it, pretty much if I have to meet both those thresholds. So far, I can guarantee tell you I have not made that amount yet. It would be nice. It would be nice. It would be nice. You know, I think that's every indie game developer's goal is to, you know, make some type of money off of their games. Like realistically, you know, it'll be very rare if anybody comes out with like an Undertale or a Minecraft type game and it just blows up, or a Super Meat Boy type game, right? But for me, as of right now, that does not apply. And I hope that that's the case of what codemonkey is saying. In the article, it said blank and this. Because from my understanding and how they worded it, how they showed it, it made it look like, you know, it was either or. So right now I'm under the Unity Personal. Okay, I'm under the Unity Personal. So for me, I have not made $200,000 in the last 12 months. I wish I did, but that's not the case right now. And the install threshold, which is, so Unity runtime fee thresholds to be met. Runtime fee. So is that every time the game, because I think he said it earlier, that would be like every single time the game is executed, correct? I might be understanding that, still misunderstanding that. Y'all comment down below. But I think he said Unity runtime fee thresholds to be met. So you have to meet the revenue threshold and the install threshold. Okay. So that would still mean if I make a demo and let's say I disperse that demo out to my Discord, the people in my Discord communities to try out the game, different publications, you know, content creators to play and stream the game. Yeah, that's nowhere near 200,000. But then also, I did see somewhere where I think it was either, I think Thomas Brush mentioned it in one of his videos of after our Hell Week with Unity. He mentioned that, you know, like in terms of like the checks and balances, you know, there's, how are they tracking games that are being pirated, and how do they know not to count that pirated game? You know what I'm saying? So there was a different bunch of takes from different creatives that I've seen on Twitter and YouTube. But yeah, that is very scary. And I can really empathize and sympathize with people who are mid-production in Unity or almost completed and almost done. Like, that is very scary to think that each year I would have to owe a company this much money. But also, what just came to mind though? What just came to mind, y'all? And I wonder if anybody had said this or not. I'm wondering if there's because of oversaturation of games that's being come out on Steam. If Unity, some way or another, is working with Steam to flush out all the from Steam. Does that make sense, y'all? Does that make sense? Like, that might be a thing too. I literally just thought about that. So to kind of help with that, they're putting in these parameters to kind of scare people away from making games with Unity, at least, since Unity and Unreal are, for the most part, the mass majority of what a lot of indie developers and studios use. I would say they're the more popular out of everything that's come out or is coming out outside of Game Maker, Godot, and Construct. So anyway, let's see.
To pay if that old game has made over 200k in revenue in the past 12 months. If the game was super successful in the past but no longer in the present, if the game goes under that revenue threshold, then you don't have to pay any fee regardless of how many installs. Another point of confusion is people asking if this applies to their entire studio, and the answer to that is no. This is on a per game basis. Everything on the blog post is referring to
per
a
game,
not a studio.
Okay.
So for example, if you have a huge hit and then the next game is a flop, you don't have to pay any fee for that second game, even if the huge hit is still bringing in over 200k per year. Then some people are also confused, thinking you would have to pay this fee per user per month, meaning if the user plays your game for 2 months, you would have to pay 2 fees. And the answer is no, the fee is per install. Again, it looks confusing because the chat over here mentions a standard monthly rate.
Right,
so
exactly.
It makes it seem like you have to pay 20 cents per install per month. That is not correct. Basically, the monthly over here has to do with when you have to pay. Basically, the invoice for the install cost is going to be invoiced on a monthly rate, but this is not the monthly cost. So every month it is going to check the revenue and the install count above the threshold, meaning how many unique installs were added in the previous month, and then use that to calculate the invoice. But again, this amount per install is just once per user, even if your user plays your game for the next 10 years. Then some more confusion is related to the threshold. Some people were thinking that as soon as you hit the 200k install threshold, then suddenly you have to pay 20 cents times 200k. That is not correct. If you are on the personal free license and your game generates above 200k in revenue in the past 12 months, and you sell 200,001 copy, you pay just 20 cents. The fee is per install above the threshold. It is not for all of it. Another very important question is, what about free demos? Nowadays, making a free demo and participating in the Steam Festival,
that's what I wanted to know.
Finding success. So for demos, the answer is technically yes, free demos do count.
That's
but
what
again,
I thought.
the fee only happens if above the download and above the revenue threshold. So for a free demo, even if you get 200k demo downloads, since it's free, you will have zero revenue, so it does not trigger the fee. Related to that, some people were saying that eventually a demo will become a paid game. And for that, I believe the answer is you simply make a project on the Unity dashboard for the demo and then a separate project for the final game. That way the demo downloads do not count for the final game. Then there were also a bunch of questions for which there seems to be no clear answer. For example, how are installs tracked? If your game uses any online service, like for example analytics,
how is it being
diagnostics,
tracked?
and that's already tracked by default. But what if you're not using any online service? How exactly does that work? The answer that I got from Unity is it will attempt a simple connection to the Unity servers. And importantly, I was told that if that connection fails, it does not break the game. So this change does not force your game to be online all the time. That was my first question when I first heard this. And with regards to that simple connection, someone asked, does this break any privacy laws? Now for that, I believe the answer is no, because as far as I know, the player ID that is generated, that does not have any personally identifiable data. I believe that one is just a random hash, so I don't think it has issues with privacy. But I'm not a lawyer, so I definitely could be wrong about that. Related to that question is, what about reinstalls? Say your player installs a game, then uninstalls it and plays it a year later. Is that 2 separate installs or just one? Like I said, I believe they are tracking installs through the player ID, which is stored in the registry. Now I'm actually not sure if uninstalling a Steam game wipes the registry. If it does, then I believe that would count as 2 installs, and if it doesn't, then I believe it would just count as 1 install. Another question with no clear answer is, what about piracy? So if someone pirates your game and plays it, does that count?
I brought that up,
I believe
piracy.
the answer is those installs do indeed count, Although supposedly Unity has some fraud prevention algorithm that they're already using in their ads, and they will be using the same algorithm here. Although, of course, I have no idea how well that works or how
That's
much of a
very
problem this will be.
scary.
And related to that, what about simply malicious actors? So what if someone makes a script to uninstall and reinstall your game constantly? In that case, I believe the answer is yes, that would count. So technically, if your game is above the revenue threshold, then technically this could be a big problem. Basically, you have
A
to trust that their fraud
huge
prevention
problem.
algorithm is very good at detecting that. So as you can see, lots of questions, lots of confusion. I hope I helped clarify
Yeah,
at least some of
man.
these.
Yeah, see. And they're going to roll this out January of next year. I really, a lot of those unanswered questions, a lot of those what if scenarios, and codemonkey just broke it down perfectly to what I was already thinking, and like all you other game devs and smaller studios were thinking. That, wow, that's crazy. But it seems like to me, like after hearing this breakdown, it seems like it don't really affect those of us that are learning game dev, that are making our prototypes, that are trying to make a commercial game. It seems like it's going to impact the mid-sized studios, the digital devolvers, the people that actually have made money and seen some type of success. That seems like it's really going to impact them more than the smaller developers for now. But when you factor in everything that he said on this latter end, which I'm thinking the piracy, how is it being tracked? The people uninstalling their games and reinstalling them, people just being malicious if they get a hold to your IP. Like, yo, I see why a lot of people, for the most part, is jumping ship from Unity. I get it. I do. I get it. Because, baby, messing with these big companies and the IRS ain't nothing to play with. Okay? Me, for one, I'm conflicted because, like I said, I'm learning Unity. I'm learning how to use Unity. And it's just like, now I have to do the research to see what gaming engine that I can pick up and adopt fairly quickly that's similar to Unity or better. Because right now, with me being a solo game dev, my challenges are I'm literally laying out the foundation to learn at least the basics of every moving part that is within game development. And that's very hard to do with one singular person doing it, right? So that means me, I'm learning, number one, I got to learn the game engine. Got to learn the programming language that game engine is taking. Got to learn level design. Got to learn, or should I say, think about what type of artwork I'm going to use per that game. Got to learn narrative or writing design. Got to learn animation. Got to tip my toe in sound, in music, sound effects for the pew pew and the music for the game. Gotta learn the basics of, the UI or the UX. I gotta tip my toe in all of those different things. And it's just like, man, this is crazy. I'm very conflicted right now. Very conflicted. Hoo-wee. Ciao. I think for now, I am going to still be learning Unity, but alongside it, I'm probably going to take the time to maybe learn Godot, maybe Unreal Engine, whichever one is the easiest for me to pick up and adapt while I'm learning Unity. Man, that's crazy. Ugh. But anywho's, no matter what game engine you guys pick, like there's a lot of them out there, but the general consensus around the board is, pick whatever game engine that best suits your needs as a game developer. Obviously, for me, I would want something that's going to cater to both 2D and 3D games. Unless you're gonna stick in that realm of just making 2D games and or 3D games, that's your prerogative. But for me, I know I'm gonna probably want to make a 3D game eventually at some point. So I would prefer to have a game engine that does both. And right now, that's Godot and Unreal. That's my thoughts and opinions. And if you guys, like I said, want to go back to watch the full video of what I just reacted to, it's Code Monkey on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to them. They have a bunch of good resources on their channel. Man, I don't know. It's getting to be some weird and crazy times in the indie game business right now. But anywho, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Subscribe to the channel if you're new, to follow my indie game journey, or to watch whatever content that I have on my channel. I take all the support. Help me reach 1K subscribers. Please and thank you. By helping me, that means you subscribing to my channel. Yeah. Until then, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.